Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lamplighter. Today we have with us our guest, Landon Dennis. Landon had a near-death experience resulting from head trauma after a long battle with drug addiction. His near-death experience transformed his life, bringing him sobriety and a deep sense of worth. Landon, I know these kinds of experiences can be difficult to put into words, but to the best of your ability, can you share with us your near-death experience?
Yeah, absolutely, Matthew. I appreciate you letting me be on here and share my experience with everybody. I appreciate the prayer that we had before this also. But my name's Landon Dennis. I live in St. George, Utah, and I'm a recovering drug addict. Um, all throughout my life, I've I've had paranormal experiences, both good and bad. So my NDE couples into a different categories, which I'll make short. But there's paranormal. There's my near death experience where I went somewhere, talked somewhere else. I mean, there's addiction and the power of addiction, and also the power of recovery. But from a young age, I've had paranormal experiences. I'm very accident prone. I mean, I've been hit by I think I'm up to five cars now. The last one, the last one was just a few weeks ago, again on a bike. Um, but what happened this one day, and that's what got me into drug use. I was homeless. Had lost my family, lost my first daughter, just in really bad low place in life. And that what ended up happening is I came down to St. George, Utah, and was basically being homeless here. And I went to go get drugs one day, and they weren't far away. They were down the street, and I had a little Vespa, a little scooter. And I went to the house. I got the drugs. I not to be graphic, but I was an intravenous user. So I overdosed at the house. They Narcaned me. I woke. I guess I got up. I don't remember any of this. I just remember getting to the house. Um, I guess I got up and went to jump back on my scooter to go back to my house, and they were trying to stop me, but I got on and I got hit by a car on the way to my house. On the scooter, got kind of messed up again. Somehow got up and got on my scooter and got it to the house and parked it like in some bushes or something. I don't remember any of it, but when I got home, to my parents' home, I guess my wife said I just walked in with like this blank stare on my face and went to the bathroom and I did more drugs and overdosed and fell back and had a concussion I fell back and hit my head very hard. Um, and like I said, I don't remember any of this. I just remember going to get the drugs. And about here is where my near-death experience kicks in. I know that's a lot of information to start off a story. It sounds pretty crazy, but that's what happened. Um, and so when I overdosed and fell back off the counter and cracked my head, um, my wife came in and just saw how bad it was, blood and my head swelling up, and she called the paramedics. The paramedics came. They saw I had one pupil that was just tiny, one that was huge. They knew I had serious brain trauma going on. And they started working on me right away and took me out into the ambulance in our yard. And that's when my NDE kicks in, as I remember being above the ambulance and they were um, I could see through the ambulance. Um, and they were working on me. And this at first they were still parked out in the street. I remember them putting a needle drill thing in my knee. And I found out later that it was because they couldn't find a vein. But I saw that through the ambulance because like the ambulance was transparent. But the bad thing about this was I could I was feeling so much pain and sorrow at this time. And I mean, when I say pain and sorrow, I try to come up with words that best describe the feelings of this experience I had, but it was awful. Is the best word I can describe it. The state that I was in, looking at my body, of them working on me outside of my house when I was in the ambulance, because I would flatline many times, but the emotional and spiritual pain was awful. And I remember the ambulance started to take off when after they got the drill thing in my knee, and it just started taking off to to the hospital, and I was in that state of just feeling so much depression and anxiety and everything. Um, and it got to the point as I'm watching them work on me, and I'm feeling not physical pain, but the spiritual, emotional pain. It got to a point where I could not take it anymore. What I've described before is it felt like I was going to explode, and it was basically like I kind of talked with my mom a minute ago. Even like how Alma the younger had his near-death experience, which I've just recently, as through reading the scriptures, realized that he did have a near-death experience. But even in his, he calls out, he says, I felt all the sin and sorrow of my pains and cried out. And that's what happened to me. And it was crazy to see that right before this podcast that I was watch this little interview or the reels on Facebook as they come through, different apostles. And I saw that and he talked about this like 5 minutes before I watched your podcast. I was like, oh man, it's so cool to see that in the scriptures of a of a near death experience. They said they thought he was dead for comatose for 3 days. They don't know if he'd live, and he told them, no, my body was here, but my mind was elsewhere, and but what I'm getting at is I felt horrible in that state, and he talks about having that too. And I didn't know about this until, just like I said right before this interview. It was cool to connect those dots. How cool of an experience that I can, when he's talking about it, know exactly what he's talking about. But I felt like I couldn't take anymore, and that's when, just boom, instantly I was in another place, and all those horrible feelings were gone. I mean, they were gone, and I felt so amazing. Uh, like it was incredible, and going from above my body, watching them trying, bringing me back to life, doing all those things they needed to on me. Um, that was horrible feelings, to being where I was at, standing all of a sudden in this grass field. It was such a cool and crazy transition, is I guess the best word for it. Um, but that grass loved me. I could see and feel every single little blade of grass. Like if you were to look out, in this is how you describe it, if you were to look out over a grass field, you would see all the grass, but you wouldn't see each individual blade. You would just see the grass field. But the way I could see it is, if I looked up, I could still see each individual blade, like it was almost right in front of me, but I could see it all together still. It's very hard to explain and describe, but the grass loved me. Um, there was this hill, a ways away. I say about a quarter mile ish is what I guess. But behind this hill, as I'm sitting there feeling all this peace and just love, um, I see these lights behind this hill, and these lights are, um, they're not they're not like lights that we have here on Earth. They are, but they're not. Um, and the best way I've come to describe it is if you were to put like a diamond, if you were to take like a flashlight or a spotlight and put a diamond on it, you know how those refractions of colors, it just like the crazy refractions, almost like not gyroscope, but the things that you look into, is the different colors. It's so crazy that we're behind that hill. But the cool thing, Matt, was that as I was just feeling this love and looking at all these colors behind this hill, I could tell one of them was my grandpa. This reddish light, not quite red. Um, and like I said, I don't know the word for it, the color, but it's reddish one. And he was basically held me and told me that he loved me. Um, and the way I'm gonna describe it to you guys in words the best I can, but it's so inadequate for what was really happening to me there and what I was feeling. But he was saying, "I love you." It's me, Grandpa. I love you. I, I'm still your grandpa. Um, and I saw another light, and it was like this violet pinkish light. Um, and I knew was my niece, and she did the same thing. I didn't see them as people. I saw the lights among many, 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 many other lights, but um, those two are the ones that I was able to discern. And my niece died in a car accident when she was 16, and she the same thing. I knew it was her, and they just like comforted me with emotions and other like emotions is the best way I can describe it. Um, and when I yearned to go back behind that hill, um, I felt I felt this presence is very powerful. Is actually what I would say too. Um, Even compared to the grass and that love I felt behind the hill, this powerful and very amazing presence I felt to the right, just kind of behind me to the right. Um, and I looked, and there's just this beautiful, beautiful young lady that was standing there, and like, and I saw her as a person. She wasn't a light. She was an actual person standing there. But she was like, I don't know how to describe it. Not she didn't have like a light to her, and it wasn't like a glow, but it's hard to describe. I told, I think it was my mom or someone one time, I was like, she was brunette, but it's almost like you could say brunette with like gold. I don't know how you describe, you know what I'm saying? It's weird. Um, but she started speaking with me, and um were telling me really, really cool things, and a little bit about why I couldn't go back behind that hill. Um, which made it okay because I could still, my family was somewhere where they were learning still. Um, but they were letting me know that they loved me and were still my family. Um, and the two people, or excuse me, as she's talked to me and telling me that, another presence, like I said, that powerful, beautiful feeling type of presence came, and I didn't see him at first. Again, I turned a little more, and there was a man standing there now, and they began communicating with me, and the way they communicated was not words. It's not like how I'm talking to you right now. It was through emotions and experiences, and the way I describe it to people is, if I said the word fire to you, then any time in your life that you've dealt with a fire, or even just stood around a fire and roasted s'mores, think about that, think about that. If I said the word fire to you, instantly you would have that like recognition, that and the feelings of the glow of the fire, the warmth of the fire, the smell of the firewood, the sound of the crackling. It would be like that, but just with one word. Like if I was to say fire to you, it would be like boom, like all that at once, and you would understand me perfectly what I was trying to convey to you, because you literally felt it, experienced it, and that was a really, really cool thing to have. Um, and that's how they communicated with me up there. And and as they're speaking with me, um, there's I always get asked, and this is the main reason I do these podcasts, is the two main things that I speak with people about um, is the power of prayer that I was taught up there. And I want people to know that prayer is not a religious thing. Prayer is a gift from our Heavenly Creator to have this source of help that people have no idea how strong and powerful it is. Because I didn't. I sure as heck didn't. I didn't believe in that stuff before. It was, I've had instances in my past with certain things, but um, before this experience, I didn't believe in the power of prayer. And the reason I know uh, what I'm talking about here, I'll call myself a expert authority as far as it comes to prayer. I won't say that about anything else in my life, but I'll say from what I experienced and the things that I was taught and told up there, that you're learning firsthand from someone that saw the power of prayer. And I'll tell you the story because they showed me things up there that no one could have ever known. But the most powerful story that I share with people is when I was in Layton, Utah, by a homeless or by a Walmart up there. I was homeless, holding a sign, begging for money, going, drug addict, homeless, had a wife or an ex fiance and daughter and family that loved me out there, and I chose drugs in the streets. I was very, very had a lot of dark forces on me, but um when they were talking to me, they showed me this moment in Lake Utah where I was homeless and I went behind this dumpster to this little Caesars up there, and I would go there to get food during some nights because they would throw food out. And if I could get there before other people or animals or whatever, I could get food. And I remember this one night I went there to this dumpster, and there's just this piece that had like bite marks out of it, and that's all that was left. I remember sitting there holding it and just saying to myself, like, Landon, you are worthless. You sit here and hold a sign begging for money. You are homeless. You've lost everything. You've torn every bridge down, that everything, and nobody can trust you. Like, nobody loves you. There is no creator that could love you. I mean, any horrible thing you could think, and that's why I had my suicide plan that night, because of the way I felt. And so as I'm sitting there holding this pizza, contemplating um, how is the easiest way to do it, um, and I remember I was like, okay, so slit the wrist. How am I going to, where is, and I remember as I'm thinking that, where to cut the wrist, that I feel this hug come behind me. And I mean, I just mean a hug. Like, and it was, I remember like because I was homeless, I was by myself in behind a dumpster, and it's like 1 in the morning. Like, who the heck just hugged me? But and no one was there, but it stayed on me still. But I all those feelings of like that the suicide that I was gonna do, um, it went away, and I remember feeling that night, years before when I was homeless. But they showed me this moment, and they showed me, like, do you not see how loved you are? Do you not see how powerful prayer is? And what happened in this moment is when they showed me that when I felt that hug behind me, it was literally prayers that looked like those lights that were coming up from behind that hill, that I knew certain ones were family members. I saw these beams of different colored lights come to me. It sounds like an action movie almost, the more that when I talk about it, but I mean, it's crazy, and it's so cool, but that's how powerful prayer is. I saw this and it came to me, these beams, and they hit me, and I saw these dark wispy things, like if you were to grab a trash bag and kind of like go like this in the air with it, these dark forms flee away from me that night behind this dumpster, and they showed me this moment, and because I was kind of questioning what they were talking with me about prayer and how powerful it was, and they showed me that moment, and it made me realize like that's what it was. That's what I felt that night. That's why I didn't kill myself that night. That's and many other times throughout my life. Like I said, I'm so accident prone, hit by 5 cars. I've fallen off a second story building onto a car. Fallen, I mean, it had a brain injury, brain surgery, have 4 titanium plates, a titanium clip, stents, so I've had a lot of accidents in my life that I was privileged to be shown how prayer um, from my loved ones, both on this side and the other side, uh, helped me through this life. And so it hit home with me. And I wanted to hit home with others that prayer is not just like you're thinking, it's not like you're just throwing thoughts out there and, oh, maybe this will work. No, pray very intentionally. And the most important part about praying with intention is accepting with open intention, if that makes sense. Like not having your expectation on if you're gonna pray, eh, if you believe that there's a higher power that loves you, and if you're gonna pray, do it with an open heart and no, not expectations, because I promise you your life will have better outcomes than why you think the way that you need to do things. And it sounds so stereotypical, um, but that's why it's stereotypical. So many people say it, and it became true in my life after I saw what was shown to me. I was given the gift of seeing those prayers physically, um, and knowing what it felt like when I felt those prayers. And since then, I know when I feel prayers throughout the day. I feel them because of what I felt in that moment. I know throughout the day when I get certain feelings that it's a prayer coming to me. I mean, isn't that cool? You're actually the first one I've told that one to. There's weird things that happen to me since my accident, but I feel prayers, and I know when prayers come to me throughout the day. And I wish others could understand the power of that, and the when you go through your day, stop thinking that everything when you see coincidences or this and that, there's it's prayer. It's so cool how powerful it is. But um they're sharing with me all that, and that was one of the most important things that I took from it, because like I said, to this day I feel when prayers come to me. I know when they come to me, it's pretty cool. um and so that's why I pray for others and myself, and I keep an open heart and mind. But when they're finishing up, um wherever I was in that grass field, um, with and talking to them, I just got one last rush of "I love yous" and I'll see you again. Um, and it was so cool. That last one was like, oh gosh, that was the most incredible feeling. But what sucked is right after that there was no goodbyes. It was just "I love you, I'll see you again," and boom, all of a sudden I'm back above my body, and I'm looking at them doing brain surgery on me. Uh, it's pretty gnarly. Um, uh, and those feelings came back, like the ones that I had above the ambulance before I went to this place and talked to those people. All those awful feelings, they came back. And I'm watching as they're like doing part of it. They had like this curtain thing and rods coming out and like section part of it off. And I'm not going to get into too much detail, but I watched part of it. And I got to that point again where I felt like I was going to explode. Like I couldn't take the emotional and spiritual stuff I was feeling again. And I just heard the lady's voice that was up there. I actually heard her voice this time. And she just said, Landon, it's time. And it kind of, I remember that happened as I'm watching them do my brain surgery above my body. I didn't feel the physical pain, but I'm watching them, and I heard her a second time say, Landon, it's time. And that's when I remember opening my eyes and seeing my family around me. Um, and so I don't know how time works during these experiences. You know what I mean? Like what happened? Why didn't I have an NDE type thing during that time where I first overdosed and then got hit by a car and second overdosed? You know what I mean? And where was I during that time? And then when I actually had my NDED and I can verify it, like I saw things that no one who was dead would be able to verify, and I verified those, afterwards when in the hospital. But um, it's it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah, that was the main thing, was the power of prayer, and I didn't believe it. I didn't believe all that stuff before necessarily. It's not that I was atheist, but it was I was just still progressing and learning and trying to figure out life. But I'm grateful for the experience that I had there. But when I came back above and I opened my eyes, and that's what I was getting at, was I don't know how time works. All these different places that I was, and I would, like, when I came to above my body and then went somewhere and then came back to above my body and I'm having brain surgery. It's like, it's crazy how those time lapses work. um, and so then I woke up to that voice, and I watched again. When I woke up to that voice the second time, land it's time, I watched those dark wispy things in my hospital room take off again as I opened my eyes. And I guess what had happened is, when I came out of my surgery, I mean, it was bad. They didn't know if I was gonna live past 24 hours, but I guess I was like one of the few things I was able to say coherently out of my surgery after however long after my surgery was, get my dad, I need a priesthood blessing. And I don't remember saying that, but I told my wife that. That's like one of the coherent things I was able to say, which is pretty crazy. Um, and he came and gave me a blessing, and he said, I bless this room and my son, that nothing will be here to hinder him or his recovery, physically or spiritually. And I believe that's when I came back to, like, when all of a sudden my normal memory was there and I saw those things flee out of the room. And I learned that later because my mom told me that. Um, and so I saw those things in the hospital room, um, even after my NDE, when I came back from watching above that surgery thing. And I have other stories of paranormal stuff growing up, but is there any questions that you want to ask me, specifics on anything? And I'm open to anything. I'm an open book on anything. I'm open about my past and anything else that you would like to talk about.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of thoughts. And I really appreciate you sharing your experience. Wow. Yeah, you are a walking miracle. That is the coolest thing.
Yeah. I mean, if you see my pictures, I don't know if you've seen it, but oh man, it's bad. Cut, from all the way back here, down here, back up and
Oh
around my
gosh,
ear, opened up, and just, oh, I say, it was gnarly.
brutal.
Yeah, it was bad. I'm lucky to be walking and talking.
So, you've mentioned a couple times about these like shadows that would disperse, like once, with the incident with the dumpster and all of that, and then once again in the hospital. So I find that really interesting for a lot of reasons. One of which is that speaking of paranormal experiences, and maybe you've had some of these too, people will see like what they call shadow beings by their bedside, or like, trying to on top of them, or just like bothering them. And that's a fairly common experience. And I believe those are definitely evil spirits. I think you said in one of the other NDEs, or sorry, in one of the other interviews about your NDE, that those thoughts that were coming into your mind about, oh, you're worthless and all that stuff, that was coming from evil spirits. Is
Oh yeah.
that, yeah. See, that
Oh
makes
yeah.
sense to me. And you're not the only one to experience, dark forces on the other side either. I mean, even like some of the more well-known NDEs like Howard Storm, he has these people appear like they're nurses or medical personnel, but they take him away to this other place and there's something that looks a little off about him, and they start getting nasty until he realizes that they're evil spirits and that they're trying to lead him into this really dark place to hurt him.
Cool. And
Yeah.
this was during an NDE he had.
Yeah, this was Howard Storm. You probably appreciate this
I've
one.
never, I honestly, like, I've seen some NDEs since I've done my podcast, but I still, I don't like go really deep into them. Like, people have asked me to go to IANs and stuff
Yeah.
and speak with it, but I just, it's, yeah, I haven't, I need to research more into this stuff and what other
Mm.
people, um, have experienced too, because that'd be very interesting to see, because that sounds terrifying.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think your experience has a lot in common with Howard Storm's. Because he called out to Jesus and then they were he was delivered. It was really amazing experience. Um, Actually, I have an interview with him on my channel too. You could check out.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
yeah, yeah, that was a really special opportunity. So that's the first thing is that I think it's powerful to see that the thoughts that came into your mind were not yours about the unworthiness and all of that. That was dark entities that were trying to prey on your fear, your despair, your frustration with things. And a lot of times
Mm,
I think we have thoughts that come to us that are discouraging and depressing, and that we really believe that that's us when it's not,
hmm.
you know?
Yeah. And
Um,
what's so cool about that is I had the opportunity to literally, like, it's funny talking to you about it because I'm now like thinking like it was like watching a Marvel movie. Like, I had the opportunity to watch how powerful prayer is, man.
yeah,
I saw those things, whatever, that were making me feel and think that way. I saw them leave from these beautiful lights that came to me, that I was given the gift of being able to see that and share with others when I finally decided to. It took me a while. I was scared. I didn't want to sound
yeah,
crazy, but yeah, it's so cool how powerful prayers are to get those
mm,
thoughts out of our head. Like, if people only knew, like, we have so many loved ones and angels waiting to help us,
mm,
just waiting for us to ask. And it's hard sometimes because we feel unworthy, or we don't believe in prayer. We don't know, it sounds crazy, cuckoo, blah, 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 whatever. A lot of people are starting to come to the understanding of there is good and evil in this world. People are
mhm,
seeing it now. It's not, this spirituality stuff that people see it's real. It's not some voodoo thing anymore. There is good and there is evil, and there's been a fence post that's been planted for it, and the people that are sitting on it are don't don't have time to sit there anymore.
yeah,
There, evil spirits and good spirits are very real. I mean, I grew up in a house with poltergeists. I grew up where I would have that a 7 foot tall poltergeist in the corner of my room when I would wake. I would feel it before I saw it because I would be asleep. And this is when I was like around 8 years old or somewhere around there. Um, I would feel this thing, and I knew it was there, and I wouldn't want to open my
mm,
eyes or look that way. I could feel it though. And when I would look over because I would be paralyzed. I could only move my eyes, and it would be this huge dark cloaked thing, looked like seven
mm,
feet or so tall, in the corner of my room, and my mom told me one time, kind of like you were saying earlier, like, say in the name of Jesus Christ, I command you to leave. And I was young. I was, young enough that what do you mean in the name of Jesus Christ? What that's gonna do? This is there's a real mom. There's a real Scooby Doo ghost in my room. What do you mean? Say, the word in the name of Jesus Christ. What I'm talking. I need a shooting rifle or a knife or something. And
Ghostbusters.
something. I need the big stuff, Mom. I don't know what do you mean in the name of Jesus Christ. Um, but I call them shadow people, and there was different kinds too. But this one was a cloaked one that was 7 foot in the corner of my room that would come. And I remember this night it came, and I felt it, and I felt it coming closer, and I was able to look over, and I just watched it. It like hovered. It did. It didn't walk, just hovered, and it like bent over at the waist and just bent over my body, and like I could feel this vibration, like humming, but like terrible, like thumping, humming, and screeching sound. It was. Oh, like I said, I try to come up with these words to explain it. They sound crazy, I understand, but that's the only thing I can do is have crazy words for these crazy experiences.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
but
it's not crazy. It's a very common experience, actually. I've read a lot about this. A lot of people will see shadow people and have what they call like sleep paralysis, which is what you're saying with the them laying on you and all of that. And I mean, these experiences go back to like the medieval ages. You can see paintings of, the demon sitting on the guy's chest or whatever.
yeah, my
Yeah.
mom had an experience. My mom had an experience of it the night before the church, the missionaries from the LDS church came and knocked on their door. She had an experience with one. And then next morning, they knocked on her door and she was introduced to the Book of Mormon, and was converted, but she had that experience the night before
Mm.
also. So she's had that experience, and
Trying to interfere.
I've had many different ones. I mean, our old house was haunted. I would see them peek around corners. There was this one that was like a gas ball. I don't know how to describe it.
Uh.
It was like if you know Pokemon, so
Yeah,
old school,
ghastly.
Ghastly. It was like that, but imagine you're in a dark room and you're in a pitch black room, but there's this like ball of gas that's even darker than pitch black.
Hmm.
It doesn't quite make sense. You try to
Hmm.
picture it. It's hard. It's hard because it doesn't make sense. But I would see that sometimes, and it was like this mist, and it would have these two red what looked like eyes. I mean, I don't know, but
Hmm.
it sure as heck looked from from what I can imagine was two red eyes, and I would have that. I would have frightmares where in my sleep I would be asleep, but I would be running, screaming around the house, yelling, "Leave me, go, leave me alone, don't hurt me." My mom would be trying to get me. I'd be running away from her, screaming, crying, "Don't hurt me, help, help," this stuff, and
Hmm.
I'd be asleep, but I wouldn't, at the same time. And I remember during some of these nightmares, there would be this old lady, this old hair coming. I mean, just terrifying. This
Hmm.
house that I lived in, and I was messed with the most. And so, yeah, the dark side's real. I mean,
Yeah.
mentally, like you were talking about, those thoughts that come in, and I mean, physically, I've seen them physically, just like the good side is real, mentally and physically. And we
Yeah.
are in a final battle. And what's cool is that our Heavenly Father trusted us enough to be here at this time in this final battle for
Hmm.
good and evil. And people can, don't you can take whatever you want from my experience. You don't have to take anything religiously, take whatever you want, but it's hard not to open your eyes and see the realization of this world of the good and the evil going on that are
Yeah.
battling each other. And I can tell people that if you can see that good and evil is real, then you're not sure about prayer. I mean, if you think good and evil is real, prayer's not a far shot of thinking that prayer's real. It's not. It's
Hmm.
right there in that category. And
Yeah.
I want people to know that, man. Like for other people and for yourself. I mean, that's the biggest lesson I was shared up there, and I was shown, not just, I mean, it was cool. I wasn't just talked with about it. I was shown it, and I want people to know that. Don't give up, you know.
Yeah, I wanted to mention a couple things too that so like you're talking about we were talking about how the some of the those discouraging thoughts come from the dark spirits. Well, you've witnessed also, the good spirits from heaven,
Mm.
and how they were speaking to you. And I was thinking how, how many of our thoughts are actually inspired by, good spirits, our ancestors, angels, Holy Spirit, how much comes from that. And so, there's a lot on the good side too. And you can have both the types of experiences, like not to get too personal, but I've had some experiences with dark side too, and I would pray for angels in the room, and sometimes I would pray, and then it would feel like the room's atmosphere shifted.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah, like this, it went from like just disturbing to like this warm, peaceful kind of
Hmm.
like almost like it was in the atmosphere, like I say, like this thick, blanketed feeling. Really wonderful. And so like you can do that warfare. You can pray for angels and, as you say, use the
Everybody
name of
can.
Jesus Christ, and everyone can. Yeah, everyone can.
That's why I try to tell people. I am a member of the Church of Latter-day Saints of Jesus Christ, but this is prayer is for everybody, and it's so powerful, and it's so real, and it's so powerful for I don't care what religion you are, I don't care what ethnicity you are, male, female. Prayer is powerful, and you can have so much help through this life with it, but it's a tool that's given to us, and tools can only be used if the person that's given that tool starts working with it. Otherwise, it's just a tool on the shelf, is how I would do an analogy for that.
Mm.
And prayer should be your number one tool. That should be your hammer right there in your belt every day. I mean, I have a hard time practicing what I preach. So like I even with the experience I've had, I've stumbled, I fall, I I have a hard time practicing what I preach, even with this incredible experience that I had. And
Mm.
so it's just people. That's kind of the thing with prayer too, is you don't don't give up on it. We're here to learn. If you feel discouraged, you're not alone. I saw the times where I thought I was alone and wanted to die, and I wasn't alone. Um, Prayer is such a powerful tool, and also like with the tool, it's like carpenters. You need to practice at it to have that skill honed. And prayer for me was really weird at first. Like, what am I doing praying? I don't see an immediate answer. This is stupid. Why am I praying? Type thing and all that. And of course that's out the window for me now for the rest of my life after my experience. But um, prayer is a tool that is needs to be used daily and not just put on a shelf. And it's given to everybody. Even your enemies, it's given to them, your loved ones. It's given to everybody, and people will say, "Well, you're not praying right, or you need to pray this way or that." But man, I pray. I just pray like I'm praying to my best friend, but also someone that I love and honor more than anything. Very respectful. Its prayer is very personal for me, but I don't have a set way of praying. I pray when it's very hard for me to pray because I feel unworthy, or I even feel like while I'm praying, it's like not like with enough intention. It's just like kind of what's forget it. Still do it then, even if it's so powerful. And our I just said before, our Heavenly Father doesn't care what you call him. He just wants you to call upon him. And if you're struggling out there, because I don't know if anybody out there that hears this is like me going through life right now, but dang, I'm struggling. It is not easy right now. Life's hard, but it's also beautiful. Um, and and prayer. Um, Try it because I have a hard time remembering it sometimes too. But it will help you see the beauty in life, and it will help clear darkness out of your life. Uh, and if you don't understand or even believe what I'm saying, give it a try. I mean, if there's ever been a saying for "don't knock it till you try it," I would say that's for prayer. Um, if you don't believe it, at least scientifically test it out to prove it wrong. You know,
Mhm.
but I can tell you that if you pray with an open heart and true intent to know your worth as a human being on this earth, you will get an answer to those questions you have because everybody has worth on this earth.
Yeah, I was thinking about how, a lot of people struggle to find those answers, and um, sometimes it's hard to recognize, but looking at your experience, what you kind of saw it, as you say, scientifically, like you saw the light coming from those prayers. And so it's like there's an energy that goes with it. So, and I think based on our faith, that energy can be so much greater or so much less, depending on how much faith we're exercising or how strong that faith or that will is that when you're praying.
You can
Uh,
you can
yeah.
intertwine it, like you're saying, that like scientifically with theologically and spiritually, they're intertwined. The more energy, like I was saying, like sometimes prayer, it's true. And so those lights that I saw, come save me, that light, that was energy, that was frequency, that was, if you want to use scientific terms, yes, those were. But it's how our Creator does and uses his miracles. He created all this world. He created all the chemicals, all the everything, and he can control all them. And so he uses his power as the greatest scientist in the universe, basically, to do his will and miracles. But he created this for us. How cool is that? That he created this space for us to experience these things. And man, I've gone through some crappy things in life. That are self-inflicted, and I'll continue to experience some things in the future. One thing that I do anticipate, that I was shared with up there, but um, I'm so grateful for the experiences here, and people that aren't, religious. Just this is just me telling you after that experience that I had, my thoughts on the space where I was, what I felt, what I had, and what I feel there is a purpose to in life now. Everybody has a purpose. And that I got, what I got from that was that families can be together forever because everybody has a purpose. And I was being helped by people on the other side, my family members that have passed away. They're still doing something there. I mean, I felt them when I was up there. They came and comforted me, and not, I can't say spoke because it wasn't spoke, but it was so much more than and there's something, they're doing something up there. They're not just laying back in hammocks. I don't know exactly what, but I could feel that, and that was portrayed to me in that way of feeling. And the two people that I saw were actually, I saw them and they were told me they were allowed to come to that spot there, that I was. And so that was a realm or something, if you want to call it realm. I don't have all the words for it, but yeah, it's cool that we have a creator that no matter what religion or ethnicity or anything you are, that loved you enough to create a space like this for you to experience both good and bad. Because you have to have one to have the other. And it's cool that he created it and then created a way for us to ask him for help to get through things. Because it's like me with my son. I want him to learn. I want him to have trials and tests, and I'm not going to do everything for him because I want him to be able to learn, to grow up as a man. And our Heavenly Father's the same way. He respects and loves us so much that he's letting us go through trials. But man, don't forget to ask for help. Just like with my son, I would, like he asked me a certain thing and I was able to teach him a little thing that I had learned to pass down to him to make that part of something easier for him, and then he'll learn on it and pass it. You know what I mean? Like that's like our Heavenly Father. He's been there, done that, and he if you ask, he can pass that little bit more of knowledge to you, and you just through prayer, it can work, but it's a lot of times not going to be in a way that in a way that you're expecting. And I've come to learn and see that. But what's also cool, real quick, is that, that time that those prayers saved me, the people that had said prayers for me, they didn't know that their prayers were working because they just knew I was out there homeless, still ruining my life, doing everything. But thank goodness they didn't stop because their prayers saved me. And so that's encouraging also for people who have loved ones that are going through a hard time, that they are like, man, I'm like, please help Heavenly Father be with this loved one, my child, my whoever, and please, and they're thinking like, oh, my prayers aren't answered, this, or no, they're being answered, I promise you, and just so don't stop. In some little way, it's being answered that you don't know, and maybe the person that you're praying for doesn't even notice, but there's something, and it makes a difference. So it's cool that we have that in this plane of existence, whatever
Yeah.
people want to try to explain it as.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's great. So I was thinking too, we were talking about energy, and you're talking about how the grass loved you. You're not the only one to say that. A lot of NDEs have that. And I'm thinking to myself, it's like kind of like there's the energy of God in all things and flowing through that grass, and you're feeling that because God is love, and this His love is just pouring out of it. Yeah. And
Yeah.
you were also talking about how, you saw loved ones on the other side, but they were like colored, like did you say like orbs or like little
No, it was like lights shining up in the air, but there were so many different colors. It was, I mean, countless, but I could discern certain ones that were family members. And so it was
Oh,
almost
okay.
like shooting a spotlight in the air.
Yeah.
Um, but when I could discern the colors, when I had communication with them, when I could feel them, it was cool. It was really really cool. I don't know the meaning of that.
Yeah.
I don't know why saw them as lights behind that hill, and the other two that I saw them as who they were, young man and young woman. Um, I'm
Hmm.
not sure, the meaning of that exactly either. But when you talk about energy and frequency, yeah, I'll tell you what, I'll share some stuff with you in a second that's happened after my brain injury that I would have never believed in before. But
Well, let me just say real quick then, so like a lot of the near-death experiences will describe like colored orbs as like, like spirits will come like that and then they'll change and transform into their like human form.
mm,
So it's kind of energy thing. And I was thinking, one of the things I'll often see, it's kind of like there's a little face on it. It's kind of like they've sort of transformed temporarily into this orb thing and to go back
mm,
later.
mhm.
So it's not
Yeah,
a,
yeah, I've caught pictures of orbs. I know what you're talking about.
oh
The orb
yeah.
thing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I've
cool.
helped
Yeah,
with.
you do know.
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
also with your dark experiences, you mentioned the ghastly looking one, the
yeah.
round. And I'm thinking, it might sound silly at first, but actually, that's actually pretty consistent too with a lot of experiences that people have.
Is it that one?
Yeah, because
Hmm.
it's an orb and what's that person's energy? Black. Very black, like
Okay.
nothing's there.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would make I mean that makes sense to me. It was like I said when they communicated with me, since we're on the subject of this energy and frequency and vibration, that when they communicated with me not through words, that's the best way I could describe it, is that's how it was being communicated through a certain type of like vibration
Hmm.
and energy. Some like a certain type that like I couldn't have right now, like I couldn't pick it up right now. But it's almost like it could be around me right now. It's like having a radio, the radio is going, you just don't have the radio to pick up the signal real quick. But I felt it when they communicated with me, and since my injury, um, I've shared it a few times, and I've actually had some pretty cool stories with this. But I see auras around some people, sometimes now since my injury, different colors. It's not all the time. It's actually it's not often. I would say in a week I might see one or two, maybe, and it's some weeks more. Other weeks, or a month, I might see only one around a person, random people, different colors, and I don't know what that means.
Hmm.
But that's been a weird thing that
Yeah.
to experience, sense that, and try to explain to people. But that one was yeah, it took me a while to come out with that. And how do you go up to people, when you see that, and it's be like, hey, so I have a question. You got this purplish orb, or you're colored in purple. I was wondering what's going on in your life. But no, I've had some cool stories, but that's, I've seen those things on people, so I know that stuff's real. And I
Hmm.
don't know what it means. I don't have the answers for that. I just know that that stuff's real, and I wouldn't have thought so, um, before having this happen to me. I would have thought that was BS.
Yeah.
And so I'm not sure the meaning of it, but it's pretty cool, um, and weird at the same time. It would
Yeah.
be it would be cool to find out, um, what if it could be turned into like a gift that I could have. You know what I mean? Like some, if I knew why.
Right. Right.
If I
Well,
could just figure out why, that would,
yeah.
I
Well, to
don't
be
know.
brief here, like I mean, it's you're not the only one with that experience either, and it's a lot of spiritual gifts people get after their NDEs. They call the NDE after effects, and the auras are generally understood to be something about the frequency of the person based on what the color is. But you can do more research on that. Like,
Yeah, it's always they're always different colors on people,
yeah,
and not just your primary colors. Like they're
huh,
like they're different. Like I've seen primary colors on people, but I've seen like crazy colors I can't explain around people too.
huh.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Wow,
It's
that's
very
really
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, it's been cool.
Yeah,
So that's on even uh, vibration, frequency, all that, intention, thoughts, prayer, all that are very, very powerful. And scientifically, we can prove that. So people
yeah.
shouldn't think that we're so crazy when we talk about it spiritually.
Mm-hmm.
What's so crazy about it, talk about it spiritually when scientifically it backs it up.
Yeah.
So
Well, this has been really cool. I
yeah, it's
really,
been cool talk.
yeah, yeah, I really appreciate you sharing your near-death experience and a lot of the other spiritual experiences. And I think the message of prayer is extremely important, and I really appreciate you putting that out there for everyone. And um, before we close here, would you be willing to share some contact information for the audience in case they want to reach out to you?
Yeah. Um, so I have an email. It's J. O, B is in boy, E is in echo, Dennis, DENNIS 29 at gmail.com. So Joe B. Dennis 29 at gmail.com. And I have so many people that write me and ask me so many questions that like I'm like, man, there's a lot of my experience, more of my experience that I haven't shared, but I have a really smart friend, and so people send me questions, and I read them and go over it with him from an LDS standing point of view, and also my point of view of coming to the church. Not under like people ask me questions from all around the world, and so if you want, it's on YouTube. It's at Deep Questions to God and capitalized each word. But I do that only because there's been so many questions from people all around the world that it was taking a lot of time to email to all these
Yeah.
emails that I was like, yeah, maybe if I could start something with someone that's smarter than I am, and I can so yeah, if people want to get a hold of me, those are the two best ways, and I'm more than happy to. I will always answer people's questions because I feel like I had this experience that I need to share it with people. So
Cool. I like that idea of having just some videos to answer the questions. That's
mhm.
cool.
Yeah, 'cause I get very broad questions from a lot of
Yeah.
people from around the world. So I was like, you know what, and I have this really smart friend that just got off his mission. So I was like, you know what, why don't we start something and I can ask him and he's much better than I. So
Mm,
but it's been like our conversation, like I've thought about so much, even just talking with you about everything again, and like thought about things in different ways, bringing up this again in my memory, and just it's been cool conversation talking with you, so I appreciate it.
yeah, thanks. No, it's been really fun. And it's been a privilege to just hear such a profound experience and that you're willing to share this and be vulnerable. And um, so in closing, I just want to, I pray that these experiences will reach those who will be blessed and enriched by them. And I thanks again for sharing and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Matthew.